everyone, JH Medium here, and today we are in Istanbul! During our first 4 days in Istanbul, we explored the European side, visiting the famous Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque. We also walked down Istiklal Avenue and watched the stunning sunset on Galata Bridge. But this is only half of this historical city. The Asian side of Istanbul is far less touristy, filled with hidden gems, and definitely should not be missed out on. Today we are moving places. We're going from the European side of Istanbul to the Asian side. Right now we're at the Kabataş ferry station and we're going to take the ferry over to Kadıköy. Istanbul public transport is actually very easy to navigate, very affordable. But apparently these red Istanbul cards can only top up 500 liras per month. Definitely not enough. We're trying to limit the amount of times we take public transport. So most of the times we're just walking to places. We just arrived in Kadıköy, and after dropping our things, we are here at a Turkish flatbread place for lunch. They have both lahmacun and pide, but we opted for the pide since we tried lahmacun already. We got a kimali pide and a mushroom pide. The meal also comes with pickled vegetables and spicy dip. This is delicious, perfectly crispy crust, a great comfort food. I think I even prefer the vegetarian one since I love mushrooms. The pickled vegetables are great to cut down the fat since these pitas are super oily. We also got a kunefe for dessert. It's hard to describe what this is, but just look at that syrup oozing out. That is super interesting. It's cheesy, very sweet, but at the same time it has a crispy texture. For some reason it reminds me of deep fried vermicelli noodles. But perhaps after some cheesy pitas, having another rich, sweet dessert was probably not the best choice. After lunch, just when we wanted to explore some more, the rain started pouring down. So let's cut to the next day. Day 6 in Istanbul, and today we're exploring Kadıköy. Immediately, this neighborhood feels very hip but laid back compared to many on the European side. It also feels very artsy with many paintings, interesting street artists, as well as arts and crafts all around the alleyways. Similar to Istiklal Avenue, there's also a historical tram line here, which takes us to the southern part of Kadıköy, Moda. Here on the Asian side of Istanbul, there's definitely a stronger feeling of that community. Whereas the European side is more touristy, here there are very few tourists. It's mainly local young people sitting in the park chilling. I think this park is probably a perfect place to watch the sunset, but it's a little bit early right now. Just then when we were walking, we saw a lady feeding all the wild cats here. There were like 10 cats crowded around one area. I don't think I've seen that many cats in one place all having a feast together before. It's quite a spectacle to look at. One of the first things you'll notice in Istanbul are all the cats here. There's an estimated 200,000 cats living in the city, including some house cats, but most are just roaming the streets freely. Apparently they were brought here centuries ago to combat the rat problem. Unlike strays in other large cities, the cats in Istanbul are mostly clean and well fed. You will frequently find small shelters or little feeding stations for these cats. There's a saying that when you feed a dog, the dog thinks, oh, you must be king. But when you feed a cat, the cat thinks, I must be king. Here in Istanbul, the cats are most definitely the kings and queens of the streets. They can sit and sleep wherever they want, and the human servants respect that. The cats are the soul of this city. Without them, Istanbul wouldn't be Istanbul. We chilled in the park for the rest of the morning, walking along the seaside until it's time to go have a late lunch. But on our way back, we saw so many people holding ice cream. Of course, we gotta find out where they bought it and have some ourselves. Cheap and delicious. I highly recommend the pistachio flavor. Now we're gonna have lunch here in Kadikoy. For our main course, we got a shish kebab, which is grilled on a skewer instead of the giant donor wheel we've been having the previous days. This restaurant is famous for their lamb soup, but we both don't really like the lamb flavor that much. So we got our favorite chicken soup again. And just like any Turkish restaurant, they gave us a basket of bread to go with the meal. Really healing, just a soup that warms you up and makes you feel better. Now let's try the shish kebab. Let's add a piece of the chicken, the grilled pepper, and some onions into the wrap. Super tender and juicy, the marinade is great. The grilled onions and peppers also give it an extra freshness and sweetness. I think this is the first chicken kebab we had in Istanbul that doesn't have lamb flavor to it. Many chicken doner kebabs here are actually still layered with lamb fat. But here with the chicken shish kebab, you can purely taste that delicious chicken flavor. Now for the most exciting part of the meal, for our favorite Turkish dessert. We've been pronouncing it sütlaç, but I think it's actually pronounced sütlaç. So we're gonna have this Turkish rice pudding again. It looks like there's some nut shavings on top. The rice flavor is quite strong in this one. It's creamy, sweet, but still light. Another great meal here in Kadikoy. Now it's time to head to the biggest landmark on the Asian side of the city. From Kadikoy, we took the bus for 1 hour up to the Çamlıca Hill. And right behind me is the Çamlıca Mosque. This is the biggest mosque in Turkey. And just standing at this square, it's honestly staggering. The sheer size of this thing is quite unbelievable. Let's head inside and check it out. The design of this mosque is strongly influenced by the work of Mimar Sinan, who designed the Süleymaniye Mosque. But of course, it's modernized and multiplied in scale. Compared to the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque in Sultanahmet, this 21st century mosque has no historical significance, but I think stepping in here, this is the one that stunned me the most. The mosque is so massive that from the European side, you can clearly see it here standing on top of this hill. We are just minuscule in here. Çamlıca Hill is also a great place to watch the sunset, but tonight a dense fog covered up the entire city. You can barely see the Bosphorus Bridge from here. This certainly gives the city a completely different feeling. A mysterious feeling, but still just as beautiful in its own way. For dinner today, we're having some Turkish dumplings. Back at home, dumplings are one of my favorite things to eat, so I'm curious what the Turkish version is like. Since we don't eat lamb, we didn't get the most famous manti. Instead, we got some steamed mincemeat dumplings and some deep-fried vegetarian dumplings. They all come with yogurt in the middle and 3 sauces to choose from. The minced meat dumplings are very similar to what I would have at home, but the yogurt is what differentiates it. It makes the dumplings very rich, like it's coated with a creamy sauce. Now let's try the deep-fried dumplings. These are delicious, crispy, and holds the shape much better with the yogurt. But by far, the best thing about these dumplings are the 3 sauces. The chili sauce and pesto sauce both completely elevate this dish. Today we made it over to the Kuzgunchak neighborhood in Üsküdar. We found this farmer's market and we just randomly came in. The aunties here don't speak any English, but we managed to use Google Translate and figure out what these things are. So we got a freshly made grape juice and a gazleme, I think that's what it's called. They're pretty cheap and the people here are super friendly, but yeah, they don't speak any English. I think that also means everything here is super local. Let's see if the grape juice tastes good or not. Sweet, but they said there's no sugar added, so really refreshing. You want some? And of course, we have to go buy some fresh fruits as well. They look fresher and are a lot cheaper than anything we've seen in the supermarkets. Kuzgunchak is also famous for their cute, colorful buildings and the chill, tranquil atmosphere. Even the cats here are just sleeping in the sun, relaxing. Just walking on the street, you can smell the floral scent of lavender, the fresh coffee, and all the bakeries selling breads and desserts. here in Kazguchang, there are so many of these cute cafes just by the side of the road. So we have to come by, sit, have a nice cup of coffee, and just relax for the afternoon. Just then when we were walking on the street, we saw a row of lavender flowers. So that made me want to try this lavender latte.
在这里晒晒太阳，喝一杯咖啡，度过一个下午，就有一种在土耳其生活很惬意的感觉。
I definitely highly recommend coming over to the Asian side, coming to Üsküdar if you have some extra time, because sitting here by the side of the street, like a different feeling of Istanbul. Unfortunately for us, we may have used up all our sunshine luck when we were on the European side. Every day on the Asian side has been quite hazy or rainy. During our last day in Istanbul, it was mainly a day for shopping. We walked around Kadıköy buying souvenirs and trying out some more street food before we leave this city. It is our last morning in Istanbul, and we're gonna end our trip the way we started it, with a plate of menemen and some honey and cream, our favorite Turkish breakfast.
这应该是我离开伊斯坦布尔之后最舍不得的食物。开动吧！
Another thing I've been wanting to try on this trip are these stuffed mussels. The staff were really friendly and recommended the ones with their secret sauce. It's basically a mussel stuffed with rice, and you eat one in a single bite. I love this. Really creamy sauce, savory, and the seafoody taste is not that strong, which is a good thing. We only ordered 10 because I didn't know how it would taste, but I could eat a whole bucket of this. Even though it's super cloudy and there's no ocean sunset today, we still wanted to end our Istanbul trip with a ferry ride to Üsküdar. This boat ride from Kadıköy to Üsküdar is the perfect place to see the famous Maiden's Tower. And in the distance, you can see Sultanahmet with the Blue Mosque and the Hagia Sophia. It's a bit sad to end our trip on a cloudy day, but I'm thankful for all the magnificent scenes this trip has already given me. Our one-week trip in Istanbul was beyond my expectations. Before coming here, Istanbul, Constantinople, Byzantium were just names inside a history book that felt disconnected from reality. But now, it means so much more. Istanbul is more than a living history museum. It's a playground for not only humans, but also the adorable cats and animals living here. It's a delicious feast and a moving painting. Of course, there are many famous sites that we had to skip in order to make time to visit the hidden gems and the less touristy areas. But you can easily spend weeks here exploring this beautiful city. I guess that leaves room for a second visit in the future. 6 months into my gap here, this intercontinental city marks the perfect transition from my journeys in Asia to a future backpacking trip through Eastern and Central Europe. Hope you guys are enjoying my videos, and be sure to subscribe to JH Medium for more travels coming soon. Teşekkür ederim. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye bye.